Welcome to Skyblock Next, the show built to give you the details on every planned Skyblock update so you can keep up to date on the future of the game. I'm your host Derailious, and with the recent release of the hub revamp, things are looking pretty exciting. Without any further ado though, let's get started. Let's begin with the Harvest Feast event. The Harvest Feast will be a new Skyblock yearly event that takes place from early autumn until late autumn. During this time, different crops will enter their harvesting season every different Skyblock month. During that period of time, if you harvest that type of crop, you will get new items and drops, including a seasoning as well as a specific item that you can use to craft other items based on the crop. So for carrots, it'll be carrot zest. In terms of the seasonings, you'll be able to bring them back over to the communal stew in the middle of the hub over here, and you'll get a reward in the form of a mix-in at the end of the event. And the more seasonings you contribute, the better the mix-in will be. In terms of the rare drops, these can basically be turned into a bunch of different items, stuff like, for example, being able to summon Hoppity to your plot seemingly, items that allow you to charm visitors and get better rewards, so on and so forth. During this time, Mayor Finnegan will actually interact with this event if he is elected, in the form of the Grand Bakery, but we don't know too much about it. We also know that bread bowls are apparently relevant here and might be a part of the event somehow, and there's also some stuff referencing things like Helios, as well as a new visitor, who is going to be Taylor. We don't know a ton about this event. I imagine we'll see more once it reaches the Alpha Network, but it definitely seems like a pretty major expansion to farming. Next up, we have the Minister Perk update. Many of the ministers that were elected as part of the Aura event have been contacted about their perks, and many of those players have had their perks approved. It's only a matter of time before we see those minister perks in game, and there is a lot to go over, notably a bunch of new accessories, game improvements like faster dialogue in dungeons, and I myself am going to be adding a tracking mix-in to the game. If you want more information, I have a full video with all of the perks in their unapproved state down below. Next, we have the Lotus ATL. This will be a brand new fishing island in 1.21 that will include trophy frogs as well as a bunch of new Minecraft features. It will utilize the same system as the Backwater Bayou, and I imagine will be similar in size and scope. The Desecrated Shrine is the location for Guardian Slayer, and this will be another fishing update in the same style of the Backwater Bayou. It will once again also be in 1.21, and I imagine that tridents will be the weapon for Guardian Slayer, although I'm not 100% sure. We don't have a ton of information about Guardian Slayer or the Lotus ATL, but they are the two major promised fishing updates for this year. The Taurus Canyon is the second island of Galatea, being a smaller, more focused island that expands existing systems rather than reinventing them. It seems like the goal is just to continue on the ideas seen in the Moonglade Marsh, adding a bunch of new axes, a bunch of new tree types, and generally expanding the foraging and hunting systems. I imagine there won't be too many surprises here, maybe a new god temple, but the island does look really pretty, having this red and pale theming, built fully in 1.21. If you want to keep up to date with Skyblock news and Skyblock Next, please make sure to like and subscribe, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order to support the channel. Without any further ado, let's get back to Skyblock Next. The Breach, or the Very Special Place in Time, is also likely to release within the next year. This is a brand new piece of combat content, if I had to guess, as it was mentioned in the 2025 recap, that takes place in the era of Cayman, or the Wither King, at the zenith of his power. From my understanding, you'll be able to access this area for free if you've completed the Rift, but if you haven't, there might be some cost associated with it. So make sure to get the Rift done if you want to access this whenever it ends up releasing. We don't have a ton of information about this event or content or whatever it's going to be, but I imagine it will be pretty major in scope. There is a bunch of new combat content coming to Hypixel Skyblock within the next year that was mentioned in the 2025 recap. This could be the Breach, but it could possibly be something else. There's also a second new Slayer aside from Guardian Slayer that was announced in the 2025 recap, but we don't have any further details. There is a planned update that will be a Crimson Isle cost rebalancing. This will possibly involve changes to Kudra's loot tables, as well as a reduction in Crimson Essence cost for the Kudra gear pieces. There will also be a partial refund associated with this, so if you have maxed out gear, you will be getting at least some of that Crimson Essence back. Lunarrise is the third island of Galatea with a snowy theme that has truffle and pinerise trees on it that will take thousands of sweep to take down. We don't really have any more information, but I imagine it will include more hunting stuff, new axes, and new areas to explore. There is also an expansion plan to the garden in the far future that will allow you to have husbandry-related content on the garden, as well as expand it to the latest version of Minecraft. This will also include the ability to breed your own animals that you hold in the garden, so possibly a new plot type. There is also a Magic Find rework planned with 4 major goals. The first is to substantially increase the base drop chances of Magic Find affected drops across the game. The second is to reduce the amount of Magic Find in the game. The third is to eliminate the need for Magic Find swaps, and the fourth is to make Magic Find as intuitive as possible. The long-term goal here would be making drops a lot more attainable for early and mid-game players, while still making the game fun and enjoyable. This would be a major change to Skyblock, probably one of the biggest on this list, and if you want to find out more information, I'll have a video linked down below. Next, we have a few updates that are either smaller in scope or are a little bit less certain. The first is the Great Glaciate Lake. We don't know if this was cancelled or shuffled around, but it was going to include a bunch of fishing-related content for the Great Glaciate Lake, a ton of new mine shafts, new Devon equipment, and the ability to give offerings to affect which mine shafts you'd get next. We don't have a ton of other info about this update though, and it seems like it may have been cancelled as we have heard very little about it recently. An equipment wardrobe is finally going to be coming to Hypixel Skyblock. We don't have a ton of other info about this, but it was confirmed that it is in the team's backlog, so whenever they get through that, I imagine that the equipment wardrobe will be on the table. There's also a bunch of generalized updates moving islands over to 1.21 fully. I imagine that this will include the Goblin Army texture revamp that they were showing off a few months back, and this would likely go for every island in the game, places like the Dwarven Mines, the Crimson Isle, so on and so forth. A couple other possibilities for updates over the next year in Skyblock include chapters on pretty much every other island in the game, as well as a smaller Hoppity update. Some parts of this update have already entered the game in the form of the Hoppity Pity system, but it's possible we get the rest of the update, which would have included a faction rabbit tower, as well as the ability to trade and hold on to rare rabbits that gave you greatly increased chocolate rates. Although it's possible that this update was scrapped, given that we got the pity system without the rest of the release. And that about does it for this cycle of Skyblock Next. As you can see, there is a ton of major updates planned for the next year. All we can hope for is that the team is finally able to start making progress on their backlog. I would love to hear what you think about this down below, leave all of your thoughts there, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.